We are joined now on Watertown Cable News by Lydia McCoy, who was appointed as Watertown's new Director of Senior Services in March. Lydia previously worked for the Providence Housing Authority and has extensive experience working with seniors. She's with us in studio to talk a bit more about her experience and aspirations in Watertown. Lydia, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We have a lot we want to cover with you. But before we get down to the work at hand, I'm sure people at home will enjoy hearing, in a nutshell, what kind of brought you to this point now in this position?
Well, I really wanted to get back to working directly with senior programs and focus more on the elements of outreach that have a direct impact on folks' everyday life. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And is there one or two previous work experiences or life experiences that kind of puts you in this position now, or that you carry with you, or that influence you in such a way? Because it's not, working with seniors and elderly care is not something that everyone runs to, to be perfectly honest.
I would have to say it started with how I was raised. My grandmother being the person who raised me and raising me in a household that was generational, intergenerational. So it was my grandmother, my great-grandmother, I have my father, and just really instilling the importance of taking care of seniors, taking care of elders. She took care of her mother. My dad took care of my grandmother. Mm-hmm. So that really started off when I was young.
What are your impressions so far on how Watertown is doing with just those things, for example?
Watertown is so vibrant. With my background, I've watched seniors in a lot of vulnerable situations. And in Watertown, it's very different. It's vibrant, it's fun. Folks are living their golden years, and they're living it to the fullest, and so that has been a breath of fresh air to see.
And you believe that the services that the city provides is helping that happen?
Absolutely. The senior center has services from morning until late afternoon, and they're doing everything from fitness classes to educational classes to games, outing trips, going to the market, going to get lunch at restaurants, going to museums, seeing shows.
Did you come in with ideas in place and things that you've wanted to implement or have implemented, or are you kind of taking it slow and working your way through and determining what things you want to change or add?
I would say a little bit of both. I like to kind of observe and see what's happening before I make any big changes. But there were a few things that I immediately noticed off the top when I got started. And for instance, one of those things was I did not see a senior garden at the senior center. So the first month that I got started, I worked on a small micro grant through the Watertown Community Foundation for a senior garden. Okay. So if we get the grant, we'll be able to have a senior garden with raised bed, with a raised bed platform, and also nutritional workshops for seniors.
Very nice.
Yes.
And you had mentioned, and obviously, gardening is such an integral part of
Correct.
Young and old, so I'm sure that's something that's still of interest to them, but having the resources or having someone create those resources is huge.
Exactly.
You had mentioned off camera a couple of other programs while we're on subject, grants that you have applied for. I wonder if you could share those with us.
Sure. I'm in the process of applying for an Executive Office of Elder Affairs grant. It's a technology grant up to $100,000. If we get the grant, we will have some community outreach, and we'll partner with the public library to provide digital literacy classes at the Housing Authority, the senior developments, and also working with the veteran department. We'll have about 4-month sessions that will have basic computer skills, all the way up to a more advanced courses offered. And folks who complete 2 or more of those classes will be eligible for a device, a connective device in terms of a tablet or a Chromebook.
So the Watertown food pantry is something that you are also responsible for overseeing. They've been looking for a temporary location, and I wonder if you could just share any updates having to do with the pantry.
Yes, we're diligently working on relocating the food pantry. I think the food pantry is such a pivotal service in Watertown. They were open all through the pandemic, one of the only food pantries in the area that stayed open. They serve about 130 families a week, families from outside of Watertown. It's a need-based service, and so you don't have to provide your income, which I think at a time like right now, with inflation being so high and food services being so hard to get, you know, for this population, it's very important.
So if I'm watching this show and I have a senior, or I know of somebody who might be in need of your services, what's the easiest or best way to reach out? Is it to call? Is it to email? Is it to knock on the door?
Sure.
Or all the above?
All the above. I am one of those. I will pick up a phone call. We can email. You can stop in and see me.
Great. It's been a wonderful opportunity to speak with you and to
Definitely.
get the city to know more about you. And I hope they will reach out, and we'll put on the screen all the ways that we can get in touch with you.
Sure.
And Lydia, we thank you so much for being
Thank
with us.
you.
Lydia McCoy,
Thank you for having me.
Executive Director of Senior Services here in Watertown. Thank you so much for being with us.